Okay.
Hey, and welcome back to the podcast. Jennifer Sutton is here, and her website is BRIGHT+CO And Jennifer is an accomplished marketing and advertising expert who has dedicated her career to helping businesses grow and thrive. And she is all about e-commerce and growing companies and scaling up your business using consumer psychology, real insights, and KPIs. So exciting stuff. Jennifer, glad to be speaking with you.
Glad to be on the podcast today.
Yeah, and we're having a lot of fun. And so I kind of mentioned a little bit about you just from what I know about you, but in your own words, what's the elevator pitch for Miss Jennifer? What makes you unique? What makes you stand out? What's your passion?
Yeah. So I call myself, I'm a serial agency person. I have spent my whole career on the agency side of marketing. I grew up in the media space. So now I'm kind of dating myself, but 30 years of being in planning, negotiating, buying media, and love it. Love the chaos of media and the changing landscape and the data. Especially in today's landscape, my goodness, the amount of data that we get, machine learning that we have, that allows us not to just develop brands and insights around, how to do better storytelling and messaging, but also in today's media landscape, we can buy with precision, and almost predict pretty accurate results.
Wonderful. And so what a time to be alive, right? Where you don't have to just do a TV campaign or do billboards. You can get it exactly dialed in and get exactly the right people hearing your message, getting excited and taking action. And just to kind of get everyone caught up, or maybe like think about the fundamentals, right? You mentioned about a serial agency person, and you mentioned about media buying. So just to make sure we're on the same page, can you explain in your own words, like what you consider an agency to be and what you consider media buying to be?
Yeah, so agency is a marketing firm, an advertising firm, that brands hire to build the brand, do all the creative, possibly even purchase the media, help with the publicity, for those companies. And inside the agency, if it's a full service, they have a media department. And that was the department I sat in, and led of managing $20 million, $50 million media buys for companies like Humana or Lids, several different health systems across the country to basically deliver the messages to the audiences that they served. And so that's really the difference of, in an agency. I've now owned my own agency. We are a full service marketing and advertising agency. So we help clients figure out, is their problem of why they're not generating revenue or hitting the sales or their KPIs of what they're trying to achieve? Is it a marketing problem? Or is it an advertising problem, which then involves not just the message, but where that's being placed, the media that ad is being seen. And sometimes those problems are very different. Or the solutions are very different to solve those problems. Does that help?
It does, and it gives me a little peek into your thought process, and you're saying, well, where is the hurt? Where are we falling short? What's the exact problem? Is it the message itself, or is it who's getting the message, or where we're trying to reach those people, and kind of like decoding or debugging the problem? And I imagine that when you jump into some of those those huge brands with huge budgets, right, like a Lids or a Humana, you can just have a lot of fun in that playground and maybe like learn a lot, right? Because like all these companies and all these industries are different, and then you can like play around a lot more. And so, I mean, can you have any fun stories along those lines? So tell us about maybe the exciting roller coaster that you've had as far as just cracking this code, fixing some of these messaging problems.
Well, that's also, when I started my own business, obviously not able to really work with those large brands, but I was fortunate to be able to use that as kind of my training ground of of helping those large companies, seeing the discipline of what it takes to build a brand, what it takes to plan out an advertising campaign, making sure the creative is on point. So, doing it with your own firm with much smaller companies, with much smaller budgets, we really have to make sure that every dollar that we're spending or every asset that that company is using is working really hard. So, for example, we get companies that come to us and say, "Hey, I'm not able to hit my goals. I was hoping to be at 50 million in revenue by the end of this year, and I'm only tracking. I'm still 25-30% behind kind of that goal." And so what we do is we have a process that we take them through, and a lot of times it's not, they're spending money, like they're throwing money at the problem. And so they come to us and go, "Hey, I don't think we're buying the most efficient, or I don't think our advertising, we're not on the right channels." And when we uncover and we start breaking things down, a lot of times we get into, we've had like a B2B client, and they were spending $10,000-$15,000 a month in digital, and they weren't tracking things appropriately. So kind of, yes, there was some things to optimize on, their tracking wasn't set up, so they weren't able to measure the conversion rates. They didn't really understand what conversion rate was. So helping clients kind of understand of what exactly do you want your user, that target audience, to think, to act, to do, to believe. And they're like, "Oh, I didn't think that was important." And it's like, well, that's going to drive the message, but it's also going to help us make sure that we're buying the right tactics and we're measuring things. And that client, we kind of optimized what they were, and so we were getting better results for 40% less than what they were spending. So we got to go, you only need to spend about $7,000 or $8,000 a month, not 15, and we're generating the results that you're seeing. So you're seeing a much greater lift for those dollars. And that's in a B2B space. We've had e-commerce clients, like a winery that is, selling across the country and trying to lift their sales. And again, it's, they were buying in things very isolated of, well, we're just boosting things in social, or we're doing some Facebook ads. And it's like, well, there's so many other ways to target and find your audience so that you are able to optimize your spend. And that's another one of, we took less than what they were spending, but increasing their conversions and their return on ad spend by like double digits of what they were doing. And it just comes down to looking at things of, there's the machine learning. There's so much technology out there today that we can utilize as our advantage in media buying. And then also kind of that human brain to kind of look at it and go, we know these benchmarks, we're not hitting it. What's the problem? How do we remove that friction? We had another client that was, everything was working well. Message, we were getting high click-throughs, above benchmark click-throughs. This was in a professional services space. They're a staffing agency. Our click-throughs from their ads were hitting the landing page. The conversions to then set appointments were above benchmarks, but they weren't getting people to like close, like to hit that submit. And what we found was there was friction. Their form was too long, too many fields that they were asking for. And so they were having people drop off, within their funnel. So we had to go back and say, look, maybe let's do a video. Maybe let's make it easier. They don't want to set an appointment. We're not giving them enough information. So let's put another step in the workflow to let's generate the lead and then figure out what is that message touch point, that funnel to optimize. By just doing that little step, they saw their leads increase, and then they saw, yes, it took a couple of other steps, but their conversions were increasing versus just having people drop off from nowhere. So to capture that lead, to capture that content information and then nurture it through. So again, it's just, again, trying to use the data to solve those problems. We work with a car dealership up in I'm in South Carolina to Tennessee. And again, all the stats of ads were working because our click-through rates were above benchmark. The conversions to the phone calls were working, but again, they weren't closing the sale. So the owner was like, I don't get it. There's got to be something wrong. What are we doing wrong? Maybe we're not spending right. Maybe our message is right. So we put a little a tracker to be able to record the phone calls, so we could hear how their front desk was answering the calls, or what the script was for the sales. And immediately after listening to about 50 of those, they weren't using the script. And so we shared those with the owner, and he was like, whoa, I've got to take a step back. I've got to retrain my folks. So again, that's not necessarily an advertising problem, but it became an advertising problem when we weren't hitting the numbers that we thought the campaign would hit, because it's taking it all the way through the sale. At the end of the day, most clients want, new clients, more clients, returning clients, or customers, revenue and sales. So that's what we try to do. And we just try to solve the problem.
I love it. And that gives us a good peek into what you do. And I mean, there's so many things to think about in that answer, and so many amazing insights, because when people talk about the data, it's easy to just think about the numbers, the math. But then you're saying that if you look at the numbers, and are we converting, and where's the bottleneck, but also kind of just use your common sense, or look at the user flow that someone goes through when they come to that landing page, where they make that phone call. Is there something obvious or something to tweak and try to get them to stick to the phone script, or get them to change up that quiz or that form where it gets the lead first, or it like reduces the questions, or it words the questions better, or tells them, you've answered 3 of 5 questions. Just the brain gets excited thinking about these solutions where maybe some of these companies, before they come to you, maybe they're overwhelmed, or they don't even know what the problem is, right? They throw this advertising money, and you say, well, let's break it down into the smaller manageable pieces and be like, okay, well, what's the low-hanging fruit? What do I fix first? And so it's amazing to kind of hear these stories and hear your thought process.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's understanding the journey that you want your customers, your clients, your users to go through, and finding out, again, where's that friction? What's the problem? Where are they dropping off? Why are we not seeing them take that next step? Because sometimes it might be, the journey, we've got it mapped wrong, and we need to rethink it. Like that case of the professional services, we had to add steps in that journey. So yeah, it's exciting times, and especially in media, you've got we've got consumer confidence that we're kind of hitting a little bit of a plateau. We're seeing conversion rates and return on ad spend at an all-time high. Now we are projecting kind of that to decrease in the coming years, but we're at a good time in media buying.
Amazing. So, and yeah, it always fluctuates, right? Where there's some new platform or things are accessible, and then there's the Wild West period, and then the competitors come in, or the rules get clamped down, and it seems like it comes and goes. But all the time, I'm amazed when I see things like You can use like YouTube to buy ads on TV, or I think I saw something the other day where like you can buy ads on like Amazon Video or on Roku, and it's just a click away to dial
Yep.
into some of these platforms. And there's just like countless of them, and it's an amazing time for us to be alive. And I'm also just getting all these lessons from you about how important it is to track and know your numbers, and then even maybe just to re-examine what that user journey is, even if it's already been mapped out, it's already been done for all these years. Maybe just take out the Sharpie and take out a piece of paper and just draw it again and figure
Yeah.
out, is that matched reality, or do you want it to be better, and just kind of revisit some of these fundamentals.
Yeah. So we work with a local baseball, minor league baseball team, and they did that they were, what do we need to do? We kind of mapped out their funnel, the steps to purchase a ticket. Really simple. And what we realized is they had 2 or 3 additional steps of, they had like 3 recaptchas. I'm not a robot, the click all the boxes that have sidewalks. They had like 3 of those steps in there. And what we realized, with every step, they had 7 steps in their funnel. So as soon as you saw an ad and you're like, I want to buy a ticket, I want to go to the game this weekend, they had 7 steps after someone said, I want to buy a ticket, to going in and hitting submit, final, I'm ready, to here's my credit card, purchase. 7 steps. We were like, you are reducing every one of those steps. You're dropping people by like 40% drop off, another 30% drop off, another 20% drop off at every one of those stages. And we were like, take away these 3 steps. Let's make it easier in these steps 1 and 2. Just by eliminating that, they were able to see like a ginormous increase in sales. They already got the traffic. It was just eliminating some of that friction. Like a 20-30% increase, by all we had to do was just eliminate some steps in the funnel. Like I'm already buying, like we already captured them. Because that's, to analyze your funnel, your cart, we call it like, what's your cart drop off? Like what is that retention through that process? And it's amazing, just by looking at some of that like minute data and optimizing and trying to figure out, you've already spent the money to get them there. Now let's make sure we close the sale.
That's very interesting to think about, that you might be almost all there, like you're like 90% and 98% of the way there, and they're already checking out. Their credit cards are already out. They want it, but then there's too many steps, or I got confused or dropped off, lost my attention span. And so that's you're really shining a light that some of these companies, they're great at what they do, but as far as the sales and the conversion rate, they might not even know what that cart abandonment rate is, or even not even know that they should be aware of what this metric is. And so these are all interesting and wonderful things to think about. And in these last few minutes of our conversation, I want to make sure that we focus on you, right? We've been talking about in our last couple of questions here about the journey, but as far as your journey, we don't have time to fit it all in, but is there anything that you feel is noteworthy or fun to share about some of these kind of adventures and misadventures you've been on?
Yeah, we've been in business for 10 years. This week is our 10-year anniversary of our company. So yeah, founded in December of 2013. And we've seen massive growth. And then of course we, with marketing in our industry, got hit by COVID like everybody else. And we've pivoted, but I think the pivoting allowed us to kind of take a retrospective of our processes, our own journey, both in how do we recruit and retain our team, but also in how do we recruit and retain our clients. So it's been a challenging last couple of years, but I feel like we're coming out of it with so much more positivity and focus and intentionality. So I'm looking forward to the future.
And I'm excited for you. And this idea that your challenges, your struggles, that it's an opportunity for growth. And you kind of have two choices, right? You can let that challenge break you, or you can say, well, this will toughen me up and this will kind of force me into a path that maybe I should have been on all along, but because there was no real need or no real emergency, I had other priorities on my plate. But because now I had no choice but to confront whatever problem came across my business, now I can come out the other side, as you say, a lot better and stronger, and just having a more optimized and well-refined system as far as your clients and your employees as well. And so you're on an amazing journey. You've accomplished wonderful things. And we want to make sure that we mention about your agency and about your podcast and all these other things. So what's the call to action? If someone was really impressed by your thoughts and ideas and they said, you know, she's onto something here. I know now that I need her help. How does someone know if they are someone that should ask for your help? And if they are, where do they go?
So really easy. So I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if you want to check me out, I'm Jennifer Johns Sutton. And you can book an appointment through LinkedIn off my profile, or you can find me on Twitter. My handle is JJ Media Maven. And I share a ton of stats and information on Twitter, or you can go to our website, which it's www.bright, BRIGHT, marketers.com. There's a great playbook if you want to download on, go to market strategies, or you can contact us and book an appointment.
Wonderful. BrightCoMarketers.com or Jennifer Sutton on LinkedIn. And as we wind down our conversation here, Jennifer, it's always fun to put someone like you on the spot and ask about a quote or lesson that you think would be really valuable. So what comes to mind as far as a quote or lesson to share with our listeners?
So I always, I'm in a community of founders and other business owners. I would say number one is, and it's a lesson that I've had to learn over the years, but get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That you have to be able to grow and scale, lead a team. You're going to be put in situations that take you out of your comfort zone. So you just need to get comfortable with it.
I love it. And that's great life advice in general, right? Be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's where the growth and the progress happens. So ask that person out, start that business, make that uncomfortable phone call. Go ahead, do it now. And while you're at it, go to brightcomarketers.com. And thank you very much, Jennifer, for showing up, giving us I feel like I have a list of 37 ideas in my head, which is great, and giving us those stories to kind of motivate and inspire and drive us. So you're a wonderful person, and thank you for being here.
Hey, thank you, Robert. I appreciate it.